Hello, everybody, and welcome to another hopefully fantastic episode of the Creative Coffee Cafe. I am your host, Brooke with Creative Eye Marketing and Social Media, and today's guest, there we go, I hope I'm pointing in the right direction, is Megan Hunt, whom I've met through a fantastic group and got the opportunity to chat with her last week. And Megan specializes in design and basically organizing your business through design in creating tangible products like workbooks and templates and lead magnets and all sorts of other stuff. So welcome, Megan, to the conversation.
Hello, everyone. And that was a great introduction. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Do you have your coffee with you?
I do not have coffee. I have water.
Oh, I'm joking. I'm actually cheating. There's water in here too because I've already had my 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock where I'm at, so I'm a little past coffee time. I thought about getting and putting some water in the coffee cup, though.
It depends. Some people can drink coffee any time of the day, right?
I can do morning and I can do evening for some reason. I like it in the evening, but in the middle of the day, not so much.
Awesome.
Noon's my cutoff.
No, that dark black elixir of life, so known as coffee, is, yeah, it's my thing. So, Megan, please tell us a little bit more about yourself, what exactly it is that you're doing in your business, how you got there. Yeah, we've got a few people in live, so let's share.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so my name is Megan. I'm the owner of Hunt Family Design. I do graphic design and illustration. I specialize in primarily 3 different things. So I do branding. I do any sort of PDF lead magnets. That's my favorite thing to do. So that's your workbooks, your cheat sheets, your welcome packets, anything like that. And then I also help individuals create social media graphics because social media is a treadmill. You're always having to put something out there. So it's so nice to have, I actually work with them to create the actual items, and then I help them with templates. So that way, if they ever need to put anything out there really quickly, they've got the template.
I remember you saying in our previous conversation, you also love Canva about as much as I love Canva, right?
Well, I personally use Adobe products, but I use Canva a lot for creating templates for my clients because I want them to be able to use it. I don't want to make something that they're never going to use.
And let's face it, if you knew how to use all the Adobe products, you probably wouldn't be reaching out to somebody like
you wouldn't need me. And so then I also do a little bit of custom illustration, but that's not my primary thing. I got started a couple of years ago. I was working for the state government full-time, doing that 9 to 5. Well, it was more like 8 to 4. And it was really great, really rewarding work, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then I always loved art. I always loved working with computers. And one day I just put the 2 together. So I actually started off just doing it in the evenings, on the weekends, and then my business just grew. And here I am.
Mm-hmm. So you said sayonara government.
Said goodbye to that pension.
And said hello to the wonderful world, which is entrepreneurship, which includes many ups and downs.
And we all go through those ups and downs, but it's so rewarding because putting in 20 hours for yourself is so much better than putting it in for anybody else.
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of crazy.
It's hard work, but it's really just wonderful.
Yeah, so far so good.
We all have those ups and downs.
Yes. Okay, so let's get to kind of the bread and butter of what we wanted to talk about today. You really specialize and love, like you said, taking people's ideas or their content or their business and putting it into something tangible. Before we jump right into the tangible part of it, do you want to just maybe talk a little bit about consistent branding?
Oh, of course.
We had a really good chat about consistent branding, and I think you had some really valid points that sometimes we all need to hear more than once from different places.
All right. So when it comes to branding, a lot of people think that all they need is a logo. And there are a few different key points that you can really think about with your business that'll help you have a more consistent brand. So those are, first, you want to make sure that you have a logo that really represents your business. That isn't the most important part, but it is a pretty important part. You want to make sure that it's something that relates to your ideal clients. You want to make sure that it's something that reflects what you do. Like if you're a seamstress, you don't have a donut. It doesn't make sense. And then you also want to make sure that you are using cohesive and consistent items. Like you want to pick a couple of different fonts that you use. One that you use for your headers, one that you use for any sort of quotes, or, you know, if you're using information from somewhere else, your standard font. That's your good three. You know, a stronger one in italic and something that's just a regular font. You want to make sure those kind of mesh together.
Yeah, and you know from experience too, like sometimes people feel like they have to change their font a lot in whatever they're designing to try and bring attention to each individual piece. But yes, you really want to stick to basically it's two fonts.
Yeah.
One of the fonts might be italicized a little bit to kind of, you know, give it that edge or whatever.
Yeah. So with that though, whenever you choose just two that you're using consistently in the same ways, it makes you just look so much more professional and put together.
Well, and it makes it a lot easier for you when you're designing stuff too, because it's like you've eliminated half the guessing game.
Because as a designer, I can spend hours just going through which font to use.
Because there's so many.
Yes.
There's so many different fonts.
And then the third thing to really think about is your brand colors. So those are something that you probably already have an idea, but you want to pick a couple of colors you're consistently using. So you always want to have some sort of neutral color, like a cream or a white. You want to always have some sort of darker color. In my brand, it's like a dark muted blue. I've got my brand colors over here because I'm cheesy, so I looked over at it.
Oh, I painted my wall in one of my brand colors. So
see, that's awesome.
that's the ultimate cheesy.
And then I typically recommend having 5. So you want to have your pop of color, you want to have your 2 neutrals on the high end and the low end, and then you want to have different colors to go along with that. So whenever you choose those 5 colors that you're using, it's so much easier. You've got your fonts picked out, you've got your colors picked out, and whenever you go to make something, it's not a guessing game.
Right.
No.
Sorry, and not to cut you off, but for those who are maybe at that stage where they're rebranding or whatever, I know from experience that if you were going to hire somebody to do the design and stuff for you, like Megan or whatever, or myself or whatever, it's not just enough to find the color you want. It's really great to find what's the magical word for it? It's like a hashtag and then a bunch of numbers. What's the color code or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it's the hex code. I'll actually show you my piece of art here. This might help having a visual. Okay. So this is my brand.
And this is going to be the ultimate.
So I always do the different colors on top of each other so I can see how they play with each other.
Right.
So this is my own brand. I have it hung up over here in my office. But your hexadecimal codes, which you can see, those will help you if you're pulling it up in somewhere like Canva or if you're using Adobe software or whatever, so you know exactly what shade it is. So
that the colors are always consistent and you're not like picking off of that color wheel and trying to get it as close as possible, which is so frustrating.
So all you have to do is, most of the time with colors, you can just double click on it if you're doing like a custom color picker, and it will show a funky little number like this. Well, it's like a mixture of letters and numbers. And that's what you can just keep that in a notepad, WordPad, whatever.
Let's say I don't have anything quite as advanced as what you have on the wall, but I have opened Notepad on my computer and just simply copied and pasted those in there and had them handy because, you know, you're never going to remember all that stuff.
Absolutely. And then one of the benefits was definitely that you are making it easier on yourself, but your audience is going to look at that and see that you've got your stuff together. Right. You're being consistent. You really you put out the same sort of things. It's always in the same kind of style. You know, some people like busier stuff. Some people like the really minimal stuff. And whenever you do it, it's more appealing to them as well.
Yes. And it's all part and parcel of, I guess, establishing your brand and creating yourself to a point where people immediately recognize it without having to always read everything or see your logo. You've created that McDonald's like sort of feel for you and your business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. My guest for next week has something to do with music. And so that's why that was at the top of my mind, because it's all about using music and stuff to brand. But we are visual creatures, and something as simple as just making sure that the text you use is in the certain font that you've chosen and is in the certain colors and it's always consistent can be a big deal between the impression somebody gets from looking at one of your social media feeds and looking at somebody else's, right? When you do the same, you offer the same services.
Definitely. And we've all been to those businesses pages where it's all over the place and you're not sure what their message is.
Yeah, exactly. And this is really, I think people get overwhelmed by it, but it is really simple. Like, you just have to sit down and figure it out once and then just consistently use it all the time. And it will save you headache, and stress and all sorts of things. And like you said, make you look like you got your shit together, which impressions matter, right? Especially on the digital space where people don't always have the opportunity to necessarily get to know you right away. They're kind of just researching, feeling you out. But it's in my honest opinion that if you're consistent with your branding or consistently showing up, people start to trust you, because you're always showing up in the same way.
But it's definitely a step that you can take today or tomorrow, and it'll make a difference. Maybe not immediately, but you'll notice a few months down the road, because everything takes time, that it really makes a difference.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get diving into a little bit more about the tangible stuff. Because, I mean, once you've got that stuff picked out, you have told me that you like to geek out with creating documents. And these are the documents that a lot of us get frustrated and maybe put off to the side because it's like the last thing we want to do because it's not our thing, not our passion. Stuff like workbooks, you said lead magnets, or even just creating templates so that the reoccurring duties of doing such things as creating images is easier for people. So let's talk a little bit about that and maybe some practical ways that people can quickly and easily start adding some of these organizational tools that help you be consistent and look like you've got your shit together.
Okay, so I like to call it, I always say that I like to take boring information and make it beautiful. So with every business, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. There is a lot of different things that you could be putting together to make you seem a little bit more put together. So these can be things like, say that you want to give some sort of cheat sheet, or faxing questions, or say that you want to put together some sort of, you get a lot of questions about the same things over and over again. So you decide to put together maybe a little downloadable mini course on it that's like a workbook that walks them through, helping them figure out whatever it is.
Yeah, we had talked about even just customer service style things. Like, what did I write down here?
Welcome packets and onboarding, stuff like that.
Yes. So if you're in the business where somebody is booking an appointment with you, once the appointment's confirmed, you can easily email them or send them. Even, it doesn't have to be large. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge workbook. It could be like 1 page, maybe 2, just explaining like, hey, this is what it's going to look like to work with me. We talked about, I think, like plumbers or whatever, electricians.
Yeah. So that can be done with any business. It doesn't matter if you're online. It doesn't matter if you're a service provider and like if you're a masseuse or anything else. No. Just having something, it really, every profession, you're going to have those questions, the same ones over and over again. And a lot of people don't even think about a new customer not even knowing what to expect. So going with that masseuse, one of the examples I could use is my first time ever getting a massage. I had no idea what to expect. I was a little intimidated. I didn't know.
Clothes
off. So what would have been awesome?
Somebody.
What would have been awesome, and it's something that you can think about with your own business, is if when I booked that appointment, I got a confirmation email. And in that confirmation email, they included a little one-page thing that was like, thank you so much. This is when your appointment is, and here's what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in, you'll check in here, you'll go to this room, you'll be given X amount of minutes to get comfortable. This is the process, etc. And that would have made me feel so much better, and also made me feel like they were so awesome for letting me know, because that's something I didn't even think I would need, and it's something that they probably don't think that we need. But when you have that extra customer service, it's so amazing.
Well, and let's just say you don't need it, or you, even if this is your first time and you still don't know what to expect, but there's some people that just don't care. They're just going to wing it. Nobody's ever going to look at you like, ugh, they sent me what to expect before I come. And think of it as a negative thing, right? It's always going to be that little extra that makes you stand out or stand apart from.
Definitely. And if anybody ever were to do that, I would probably immediately tell my friends and family, like, these people are awesome. I might even send that to them and just say, like, look what they do. Did you know they offered this?
Right. Well, so, and I think we talked about this too, like in that little, whatever, email, or
I like to call them welcome packets.
Welcome packets. You can explain what they can expect, but then you could almost be like, did you know that we also provide this, this, and this? Or, we say massage therapy is a good example. Say you just booked like a regular 1 hour massage. You could at the bottom say something about, did you know that we can add hot stones to your massage?
These are the benefits of hot stones.
Here's the added benefits. Maybe even the extra cost, because it'd be like an add-on, right? Make sure you inquire at the desk when you check in with us, or something like that, right?
Yeah. And then in their reminder email, they could include like an aftercare cheat sheet, like, hey, before you come, maybe make sure your house is clean so you feel really good when you get home, or just little silly things like that, and it would make me feel like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Maybe I'll go clean my house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I know that I've been told, like after having a massage, to like make sure you drink lots of water, and
that's a big one. Yeah.
See,
I didn't even think about it.
Right. So yeah, there's tons of stuff that maybe, even though I go on a regular basis, I might forget. And so, if you just got that saying, or, here's a reminder of some of the things that you should be doing just to prolong the benefits of your massage or whatever. You could also include a link for a feedback form or anything like that, so that people may not feel like they can give you their feedback in person, but they might, fill out a quick form online or something for you.
I'm one of those people too. I don't send my food back. I don't ever say anything. So having that option, and it doesn't even matter if it's good feedback. I just get a little intimidated.
Yeah.
Telling somebody like,
a hard time doing the face-to-face stuff, especially after they just see you naked.
Yeah, no, that's not the time to ask me, how my experience was.
Well, because most people are never going to say anything negative. They're just, oh, good, yep, and then they're just going to move on. Right? So yeah, you could do that, the aftercare stuff, or you could even possibly send a link to book another appointment or anything like that, right? So, and that doesn't have to be massage therapy. It can be any.
Yeah, that's just an example.
Any sort of service that you can provide where the person could potentially use your service, on a regular basis after such a time length, right?
But just by thinking about those sorts of things, as far as welcome packets go, just think about your frequently asked questions. Think about what most people come to you for. Do you get a lot of those questions that people might be interested, but they're more kind of just trying to get information from you? We all have those. You can just put together like a little one-page, hey, this, here's the information, and it makes your life so much easier. And sometimes with those things, maybe they aren't looking to book you right now, but when they see that level of professionalism and you've got a whole thing just to answer this question, this one thing that they asked you about, it makes them feel so good, and they might actually decide, you know what, this is the person to help me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In whatever you're doing.
And I think when we were talking about this, like we were trying to come up with some examples for businesses that could use this, but there's lots. Like think of the type of stuff that you need to go do that maybe overwhelms you, or there's multiple steps to it, like, getting a mortgage or doing any sort of lending or loans with a bank or financial institution, or insurance, or I see Mike Keating is on with us today, and he's one of my regular viewers. He said that I've always got some fun and interesting people on, but he's in automobile sales, car sales. So you could easily, once you've talked to somebody and showed them a few vehicles or whatever, and they're always like, oh, we'll think about it, or we'll go, like you could send the follow-up email with, this is what it looks like to work with me, or here's some of the things that we talked about today, just a follow-up of here's the vehicles we looked at, here's links to them.
That's actually a wonderful, I've got some great ideas for dealership if that's what you do. Okay. So you could do, you can kind of keep a mental note of which cars they like. You can send them like a little, like, hey, thanks for visiting with me. These are the cars you liked. Hey, remember, this is what you liked about it. This is what you weren't, you were on the fence about. You can send them information on the process. Like when I moved to the state that I'm living in now, it's totally different from where I came from. So if they had said like, hey, this is the process. This is, you need to go into we call it the BMV here, which I've never had it called the BMV.
BMV.
Mm-hmm. That's a big change. It's bureau instead of department.
Oh. Tomato.
Basically, yeah. But so it was different. And having a little welcome packet that said, here's the process. This is what it's like to buy. You go through these steps. This is how you register it. This is how long it'll take. And something like that. Whenever I'm going to buy it, I would feel like you really know everything about it. And I'd probably buy from you. It's like even if I walked away, I'd probably come back and say, you know what, you're right. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's not like you're giving people like proprietary information. This is information that they can likely go and seek online themselves, or, if they're, I always find that when I'm in if, for example, for a vehicle for insurance purposes or whatever, insuring them, sometimes you forget the things that you wanted to say or the questions you wanted to ask, right? So you look them up after or whatever. So the information you're giving people is simply value-added information that, again, just makes you stand out from the crowd. It gives you that leg up to be that go-to person,
Yeah, and they'll save that information, and it'll save them a lot of time and stress from having to piece it together.
And from your end, you're only creating it once, and then you're just able to provide it to whomever needs it too, right? So it's not like if these are reoccurring questions that people constantly ask you, and you're having to retype them and respond to everybody individually, like there is something to be said about the human factor and speaking to people one-on-one, but you can cater your message and then be like, hey, here's a link to all the information or the general information that I have put together for you. It's a great idea. Mike, I hope you're still watching and that you got that. We also talked about like templates for quotes or something like that too. Like you like making templates. And so if there's any process or procedure that you're doing in your business when it comes to customer communications that is the same kind of over and over again, having a systemized, well-designed or laid out quote or proposal or follow-up email or something like that. So what's your take on that? Like, how have you seen people maybe using these and actually improving their life or whatever?
So the onboarding process that you can do for yourself, for your business, no matter what you're doing, you can automate it and make it easier for yourself. And it also makes it easier on your client. So you can have that follow-up template that, hey, we talked about such and such on this date, this was your issue. This is the resolution, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can give them an actionable thing at the end there. Respond to me by the 27th and we can get started by the 30th or whatever. And then if you have the welcome packet that includes any sort of facts and questions that explains your process, You can have a proposal. So it's the same thing, but you can plug in their information. Like if you're an electrician, I don't know a lot about it, but I'm just going to throw it out there. So if you're an electrician, you could say, this is the date I went to see you. This is what we recommended. Here are the parts. And then it's all in one template. And it looks really presentable and nice whenever you give it to your customer, and they can look at it and see each individual piece. But
right.
You only had to make that template one time, and then you just plug in the information.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some stuff with this. So Mike said he sends a quick text with a picture of the car about 20 minutes after they leave and thanking them with a few options of the car again.
Okay,
so
that's awesome.
A quick little follow-up kind of like, of what if you're in the market for a car, chances are you're shopping around. You're looking at lots of cars. So that's kind of a cool little thing that you can do. And then he followed up with saying that he likes the link idea. He's never really thought of that. So I know that I'm getting more involved in creating some of these systems for myself. I have like a prep sheet that I send people before we meet with some questions so that I have some of the information that I need to get through whatever we're getting through in that time. And we're not wasting a bunch of time with the chit chat and the setting the foundation of the conversation, right?
Yes.
And then I recently created a feedback form too, so that I can send that after people work with me. Instead of just sending an email saying, oh, could you leave me a review or can, let me know what you're like, I've created this form. So I'm currently using Google Forms. Mm-hmm. What sorts of like cool tools or whatever that are easy for people to use would you recommend? Because Google Drive's pretty awesome, but there's lots of other options too.
So if you're providing timelines to your client, I usually upload those into Google Sheets because that's something that everybody has access to. And if I just update one number, I have it set to where it'll update all the numbers. Mm-hmm. So that's really handy. You can use Google Forms. You can use Typeform for those sorts of questionnaires.
Yeah.
If you want to do a little bit of design elements for your business and you don't have any money or you're not ready to invest, Canva's a good option because you can do a free account. I think you have to pay if you want to upload your own font, but they have like all the Google options.
Yeah, there's tons of options there that even if I have a paid account. I think it's $15 a month. Like it's not a ton of money, but if you wanted to get away with a free, you would just have to try and find a font as close to yours as possible.
And they have a lot of options.
Lots.
For free. Let's see. For tools.
What about like Dropbox and stuff like that?
Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, those are all really great. Any sort of cloud service where you can transfer those files. Mm-hmm. And you just have to provide them a link. They don't even have to have the account themselves. They just need that access link so they can download whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
It's also good for backing up your files. Back up your files.
Yes. Always have your information somewhere else so that
you don't have to back up everything, but those important things like your contracts or your accounting information. Let's not lose that stuff.
Yeah, I've been using Dropbox for a lot of my accounting. Every time I get an invoice or something, I print it off here so that I have a physical copy to give to the bookkeeper, but then I save it into my Dropbox account, and every month is a new folder or whatever, and it's all organized and neat.
And it's such a huge help. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely using Dropbox a lot and Google Drive.
Where was cloud storage years ago, back when I used to have hard drives fail all the time?
Well, we weren't probably doing as much email and
no, definitely not
either. So things have come a long way.
And another little trick, and it's silly, but if you have an important document that you might need later on down the road, you can also just email it to yourself. Mm-hmm. I do that with some things.
Yeah. Have a folder in your email account of different things too.
Like I've got, some documents for my business that I've just emailed to myself, and I've gotten all my different folders and all my different, I cannot lose this.
Yeah. Yes. That's a smart idea, actually. I know I've emailed myself things like on the fly, or I've even copied myself in an email sometimes if I'm sending, a proposal or whatever, so that you can just drop that easily into a folder. But Yeah, lots of quick little tips there. What else do we want to go over? The branding colors and the consistency is important. We talked about Canva being a nice free option. Of course, you could always contact Megan or somebody like that to help you out too. Yeah. I remember when we were talking about that, one of the things that comes up is that a lot of us get stuck on something like that. We get hung up on colors, logos, fonts, and it stresses us out and we way overthink it.
And in those situations, just talk to somebody. Like, I have a lot of consultations where they're not even looking necessarily to hire somebody, but they just want to talk it out. Yeah. I'm happy to do stuff like that because we've all been stuck. We all know what it's like.
Exactly. So if anybody is like thinking that right now, feel free to comment on this video, whether you're watching us live or watching the replay or whatever. Megan and I are both here, and we can help point you in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, just getting that second set of eyes is so powerful. It's like having a second brain sometimes. Mm-hmm. And getting past that one hurdle or figuring out that one thing in your brain sometimes it's just like, oh, and then everything else just falls into place.
Exactly. So before I let you go, though, I just want to know, like, what are some of the projects and things that you're currently working on without talking about your clients, right? Because we're not asking for that, but like, what sorts of templates or workbooks or whatever are you working on right now? What's got you about organizing things for a tangible product?
I'm currently working with somebody to simplify their onboarding process. So I'm helping them actually set up like automating. They do this first and then this and then this, and then helping them work through that entire process. And then we're creating templates for different things for their clients, which is really awesome. Yeah. I'm working on a few different workbooks for individuals right now. One is one that they're going to sell as a course. One is just an informational workbook. And then another one that I'm working on right now is a compilation of several of the workbooks that we've already done. So I'm just compiling information. So that'll be really fun. I'm starting that next week.
See, and when I hear information and all that stuff, I'm kind of like, blah, blah, blah. But you're like, yay.
And then I'm actually starting a challenge this week called the Fill Up Your Cup Challenge. Ooh. So what that is with creative entrepreneurs, or really any entrepreneur, you give all of your energy to your clients. So I'm doing this challenge. It's mostly for myself, but I'm kind of posting it and sharing it just because it's an issue I have, and I think other people do too. So the challenge is you just do something creative. It could be cooking, it could be drawing, it could be reading, writing, whatever, for 1 hour. Set a timer, no more, no less. You don't have to, you could go over, but you don't have to. And then just make something. It doesn't matter if it's pretty. It doesn't matter if you write chicken over and over again. I don't know. But yeah. Taking that time, just 1 hour a week for yourself. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't recharge sometimes. Yeah. You just go and go and go. So as a creative person, I give all of that creativity to my clients. And then I realized a week or two ago, I've not painted. I've not done anything for myself. I've got all these crafts that I want to do, and I wasn't doing it. And so I said, this is a problem that I think a lot of people probably have.
Yeah. Creatives. Well, I'm sure most people, but yeah, I'm also a creative. That's one of my leading archetypes too, is to be a creator. So I'm always putting my time and energy into making something. And when you do that as part of what you do as a business, you're always putting your time into that and then leaving yourself or your own marketing sometimes.
Oh, I'm super guilty of that. Right? Whenever you spend your days making social media stuff for everybody, and then you look at my stuff and it's like, oh, does she even post on social media sometimes?
Yeah. Yes. My friend Melanie says creativity charges her batteries too. And she is very creative. I've seen some of the stuff that Melanie's been creating at home, and it's really awesome.
That's awesome. So, but with that challenge, I'm really excited to just share it and just be like, every week I'm going to share whatever I do for my hour. And hopefully other people get inspired and just take an hour for themselves.
Just kind of an accountability group, right? Not
even a group.
Well, if anybody's interested, comment in the video at any time and Megan can give you the information or whatever you need to join that little challenge, the creativity challenge or whatever. Does it have an official title?
I've been calling it the Fill Up Your Cup Challenge.
The Fill Up Your Cup Challenge. Yep. I like that. Everybody needs to fill up their cup, whether it's with creativity or coffee.
Yes.
Or water in today's case. Okay, before I let you go, what is one thing that you wish you knew before you got first started on doing this that you maybe now know that would give somebody a leg up or make them better, more efficient or whatever with better results?
Well, I've got 2 tips. So the first is you don't have to take every client. When you first start, you feel like you have to take every client, every job, every person that's going to give you $5. Don't do it. Actually think about the project. You don't have to do projects that you love all of the time, but don't give all of your energy to things that you hate or people you don't want to work with.
Right. Yeah.
2 is set up systems. Automate as much as possible. If put together spreadsheets, put together templates, put together some sort of onboarding process and some sort of delivery process for whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. Just write it down. It doesn't have to be fancy. You could just have a notebook that says, I do a follow-up email at this, like 1 day after, I do this 2 weeks after. Just write it down and you know step by step what you're doing. And it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. And just when you mentioned that, I thought like sometimes it's hard for people to figure out maybe where they're wasting their time or where they're doing the same thing over and over again. So I know not everybody's into journaling, but if you could, throughout the course of a couple weeks, be very specific about what you're doing in every hour of the day and marking that down, you'll start to see a pattern of where you're putting all your time and energy. And if it happens to be with the follow-ups, then you can sit down and say, okay, I want to still be able to cater my message to each of these people because everybody I work with is an individual. But is there part of that I can systemize, simplify, put into a pretty little, whatever, workbook, or even like anybody has Word, you can lay it out on Word and make that into a PDF. Like it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be pretty.
No, it's always.
It's always a benefit, but it never has to be pretty. You've got Word, you've got Google Docs, you've got Canva. Yeah. Word's not free, but it's on most computers. Right.
And start with something maybe that's not as prettied up, but you need to start with it and start using it and implementing it before you know if you need to make changes to it, right? Like, am I asking the right questions or am I providing the right information in this follow-up thing? Or
and don't be afraid to try new systems or test new things because no matter if you're new or if you've been in business for 10 years, you're always going to learn new things. You're always going to be tweaking and making your process just right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Just try something. Just try it on 1 or 2 clients and see how they respond.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, awesome. I love it. I think everybody can use a little bit more organization and efficiency and clarity and simplification and all those other really great words.
Simplify as much as possible.
Yeah, because you had said something to me and all I wrote down was keep doing what you do. But you had said something that was really good and it was, that's why you want to help people build templates or organize things or do workbooks is because you really want to focus on what you excel at and where you really can help people, right? In the service side of things. So if there's something that you can, like I said, I guess simplify or automate, then you get to continue to keep doing what you do, what you love and what charges your batteries. And then the other stuff that still is necessary, but yeah, I hope I'm making sense with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always say that you're awesome at what you do, but you don't have to be awesome at every single thing in your business.
Yes. We all try and be the jack of all trades, right? We all try and do everything. So if there's some way that you can simplify certain parts of that of your day, then by all means, I'm a huge believer in, I've hired people to help me get over certain things or work through certain things or provide me with certain things. You just got to network and find those people.
Definitely. Yeah. And you might not be able to hire somebody to help you, but you can definitely simplify.
Yeah. And do lots of research. There's tons of information and everything out there too, as well. So
and there's a specialist in everything, and I bet they're giving away something for free.
You can gather a lot of free stuff, and then you just have to filter through it and see what you think is worthwhile implementing for yourself and what's not, right? Oh, I think you froze there for a second. Oh, there we go.
Am I back?
Well, oh, there we go. I heard you, but you weren't moving. So, all right. Well, if anybody has any questions for myself or Megan, based on what we talked about today, design, brand consistency, you know what, even feel free, like if you've been working with creating your own sort of branding or whatever, like share with us in the comments an example of it and ask if you want to ask for feedback. I like to think that the people that come on and watch these videos, we're all here to learn and just to kind of like network and help each other out. So that is a safe place to do so.
Yeah. I definitely, it's all about community.
Yeah, exactly.
And helping each other. I don't care if you're in the same industry as me. I want you to succeed. I want you to do awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
I like talking to people with different perspectives and filling my cup with information and just valuable discussion that gets me thinking about how to move forward in business or whatever. And sometimes it just takes listening to something one or two times and then you start to see how you can apply that to your business, because there's so many things out there that you can be doing. It's nice to just kind of maybe bring it down and start with some of the really good basics.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that was a wrap on episode 4. So join me every Thursday. I try and do these consistently on Thursdays for the Creative Coffee Cafe, and we'll see who's going to be joining me next week. So thanks again, Megan, for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll chat with you soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.